For all the best boxing content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and punch that bell for notifications.
We'd like to give some thanks to our friends at the Hemingway House for the special access that they granted us to shoot the fight plan. CEO Mike Morawski and senior tour guide Joe Buggy, you were real gentlemen, and we appreciate you opening up that great piece of history to us.
A fight plan from Hemingway's room there. The typewriter and all.
Yeah.
Special access for the fight plan.
Yeah, well, I could text, I could type, I could do a couple things. That typewriter, matter of fact, I could text better than the typewriter. The keys got caught up a little bit.
Let's look at the gentlemen who we will hear from and check in on tonight in the corners of our respective fighters. And, of course, Peter Manfredo Sr., who we just saw with Edwin Rodriguez, now training and working the corner for his son, Manfredo Jr. Which leads me to ask you this, Teddy. That means that for the last hour, the fighter was unable to communicate and be with his cornerman.
Yeah, but he had other people around him. But that's a good point. You do want your cornerman to be in the dressing room because he knows the fighter psychologically. He knows maybe where to steer him, or maybe where to steer him away from. You know, keep him in the right frame of mind, but as you said, he couldn't be there. He had to be out with the first fight with his responsibility with Rodriguez. I think one of the things, you know, we're talking about cut man, we're looking at the corners and everything, but I think we need to look at the scales, the weight a little bit. Edouard came in 3/4 pound over the weight limit. The weight limit was 163. He came in 163 3/4. He wound up actually losing. Wound up having to lose 1.5 pounds. He made the weight, but that tells me that if he came in heavy, how much heavier was he to get down to 163? Did he struggle getting down? And I look at his past weights, and I don't like what I see if you're back of Edouard. You know, this was his heaviest weight in over 7.5 years, almost 10 pounds more than he weighed in his last fight. So if this fight becomes a fast-paced fight, that can hurt him down the stretch a little bit. Maybe he gets worn out a little bit.
Opening up against Manfredo there for a moment, a chopping right hand. Now looking to go and target that body with both a left and a right.
You know, we've had fighters fight in the heat where that can be a problem. The elements, you're fighting in the heat, whether or not you can last. You stay hydrated, but fighting in the cold, it's a little chilly out here. Both these fighters are very dry. Easier to get caught and stunned early when you're dry.
Temperature has definitely dropped here against the waterfront in Key West as the night has progressed. A little bit of a breeze coming off the ocean as well.
Edouard has lost when he has stepped up, I would say, to the B+ level in his career, and probably the same could be said for Manfredo.
Manfredo has fought Jeff Lacey, of course, the title shot against Calzaghe. The 2 fights with Sergio Mora, was TKO'd by Bika.
Watch Edouard when he jabs. I think he needs to jab, but he leans forward with that jab a little bit, opening himself up. If Manfredo can see it for a right hand, if he times it at the right time. See, again, I'm seeing where Manfredo so far hasn't seen the opportunity for the right hand when Edouard jabs and leans a little. But it's there. Throughout the career of Manfredo, I've noticed he's cut guys with his punches. We'll see whether or not that happens tonight.
Been in some bloody wars, has Peter Manfredo. Coming to the end of round number 1, Manfredo and Edouard. Round number 2 between Daniel Edouard and former world title challenger Peter Manfredo Jr.
One of the advantages I think Manfredo might have is he's been bigger recently, Joe. Last 5 years, he's fought between super middleweight and middleweight, while Edouard has fought at junior middleweight limit most recently. So Manfredo maybe a little bit more bulk on the inside if the fight goes inside. And both these guys, because of their temperament, if you can bet on anything, the fight will go inside.
Speaking of betting, PokerStars.net Caribbean Adventure Final Table will be live on ESPN2 and ESPN3.com. For the first time, you're going to see a major poker tournament that will reveal players' hole cards. So that's going to happen in real time. North American Poker Tour, ESPN2 Saturday at 10 Eastern.
You know, everybody tells you milk is good. you know, you have a glass
That's
of
what we
milk.
tell my kids.
Yeah, right. I mean, built the bones, everything. But sometimes milk can be bad. You have it at the wrong time with the wrong meal and indigestion. You know, it can get a little nausea or something. Same thing with the jab. Everyone says a jab is good, but you throw a jab, and I see Edouard every once in a while, right there. He just got missed with that right hand. You throw the jab the wrong time, and you lean in a little bit, bad. It doesn't give you indigestion, it gives you dizziness. Because when you lean in with the jab, you get countered with the right hand. So jab, yeah, it's great, but it can be dangerous. There's a trap door to a jab if you throw it at the wrong time or the wrong way. And that's what I'm looking for in Edouard tonight. When he gets outside, he jabs, he leans a little bit. I'm looking to see if Manfredo's going to take advantage and spring that trap door with the right hand.
Let's watch that left of Edouard when he snaps it out there. And if Manfredo can come back with that right hand.
You know, Manfredo's the same age as Edouard, and he has 14 more fights. But to me, when I was looking at tape, he's maybe got a little bit more left physically, maybe a little fresher, because I don't think he's been as impacted by the fights in his career as Edouard has been. They've both been knocked out 2 times. But I just have a feeling, Edouard, we're going to see as the fight goes on that he's been impacted. There's been more taken away from him. And don't ever forget it, Joe. When you're in that ring, in that sport, you leave that ring a little less than you go in it. Every time you fight.
Takes a little bit away from you. Only so much you can possibly give inside there over the long term of your career.
I think Edouard's hands are a little faster. I think that he probably throws more volume of punches. But again, I think the more impactful punches during the night, I think it just might wind up being Manfredo. It needs to be in his mind if he's going to win. So far, the busier guy, to me, Edouard.
We'll see if we get an update as to his situation. But Edwin Rodriguez fought the last 6 rounds of that fight, Teddy, injured, something that you know about with your fighters.
You're not an abnormal thing, a difficult thing, but part of the territory sometimes of being a fighter, being a professional, you have to get through when you're not 100%. In the last fight, less than a month ago, I had Alexander Povetkin fighting over in Germany against a very tough game, Nikolai Furter, and after the 2nd round, Povetkin came back and said, my right hand is no good. And we didn't know if it was broken, but we knew he couldn't use it at that time. And I just remind him, hey, this is part of fighting sometimes, part of being a professional. Let's be a pro. The other hand is fine. Go use that hand, and let's win this fight. And he wound up winning the fight with the one hand, the left hand. So sometimes the responsibility is to throw punches and to elude punches and to dig into the body and to go upstairs. Sometimes it's just to behave like a pro, to get through what you have to get through. And from what we understand there, Rodriguez did that tonight. He behaved like a pro.
Round 3 here between Manfredo Jr. and Daniel Edouard. A short right hand on the inside.
I always remind fighters, you know, when I start with them, I say, you know, we're trying to make you better with the jab, make you better defensively, make you a better inside fighter, give you a good identity, but don't ever forget, your most important asset is your ability to behave like a pro one night when you're going to be demanded, or it's going to be demanded of you to use that asset. That is the most important quality you have.
CompuBox numbers. Let's look at the total punches that they have accumulated so far to this point. Edouard outlanding Manfredo by 9.
Well, Edouard must have watched the fight plan. His people have done a really good job in the corner. Anthony Wilson and Neil Schaff creating a fight plan, because he's doing, I think, just what he needs to do. Getting off, getting out, getting to the side, mixing it up, not staying in one spot too long where Manfredo can put something on him. I still think in spots, Edouard leaning a little with that jab, but Manfredo doesn't seem to see the opportunity for the right hand.
Edouard scored well about 25 seconds ago with 2 right hands against Manfredo. There's a right hand from Manfredo. Didn't have his full body into it, though. A bit of an arm punch.
He's keeping the bulkier, maybe the more physical Manfredo off balance beautifully. Getting off, getting out. And like I said, not staying in one spot. Even on the inside, he's there, but he smothers Manfredo, makes Manfredo ineffective.
Interesting main event here, coming to the end of round 3, scheduled for 10.
Fighters are always looking for opportunity to score. Manfredo really might need one right there. See the leaning in with that jab? There's a spot for a right hand. He's getting too close here. That's a spot that I think Manfredo needs to see before it's too late and this fight starts to separate from him, because Edouard knows what he has to do. Score and move.
Joe and Teddy with you ringside here in Key West. Brian Kenny in studio. You can tweet to BK and join in our Friday night fight coverage. Let's look at the punches in round number 3, or CompuBox statistics. Edouard 26-21 advantage. After that round, Manfredo Sr. trains his son. He said, "You're taking too long letting your hands go. Just work, release your hands."
I talk about the opportunities for Manfredo. The opportunity for Edouard, well, you've seen it. Put punches together and don't stay in one spot. And when Manfredo covers up, puts those earmuffs on every once in a while, go to work. Flurry a little bit. If Manfredo pulls back from the waist, go with him. He's not in position to counter. Some blood in the mouth of Edouard.
Right on the lower lip. Comes charging in, just pressing the action, forcing Manfredo against the ropes that time. There was a left hand that got in the mix that time and scored for Edouard. Another left hand and a short right, but Manfredo fires back.
Well, this could hurt Edouard a little bit. Look, I don't say, you shouldn't follow the stream of success as a fighter. You're doing good, you're scoring, go for more, but you have to be in control of that and know where that's taking you. That's taking you to stay inside maybe too long, where Manfredo's going to get an opportunity to hurt you. Just what I was talking about. Exactly what we're talking about.
He fell like a tree.
Stayed there too long.
Comes Manfredo
His
Jr.
success hurt him. He got a little careless, got away from his game plan, and now 35 seconds left for him to survive.
Let's see if Peter Jr. can get after it here in this final half minute.
I thought going into this fight, both guys been knocked out 2 times, that Manfredo probably had the better chin. We may be seeing that right now. I just thought Manfredo a little more durable. Edouard's gonna have to be durable for 10 more seconds.
Patient approach by Manfredo Jr. Just relaxed, closed his eyes for a split second, and what a veteran move by Manfredo to just let it rip. And now he comes after him here to open up this 5th round. He's going to test those legs of Edouard, who has been in some wars in his career.
Well, Edouard's telling you right now, Joe, not verbally, but physically, my legs aren't good. At least I don't think they're good, because he's staying on the ropes. Because he doesn't trust his legs to motor him around the ring right now. Otherwise, he would. So that's what he's telling you right now, Joe. My legs are no good. I'm going to have to stay here, cover up, try to slip and slide, and try to pick spots.
Right hand from Manfredo, partially blocked. He was trailing on Teddy's scorecard, losing the first 3 rounds, but comes back and scores the knockdown in round 4. Just missed with that right hand. Remember, both these men at a point in their career where it's really all on the line. Manfredo, he's gone through some financial hardships after all the success fighting for a world title. Edouard says he loses this fight, he's calling it a career.
Looks like Manfredo, to me, looks like he spent a lot of that gas in his tank at the end of the last round and the beginning of this round. And it seems like Edouard is understanding that, reading that.
Left hand, and tie up on the inside rather than working in that spot. Now Manfredo makes a decision to try to create some space.
Sometimes boxing is complicated. Often it is simple. Who's got the
good left hand.
Who's got the better chin sometimes? Who's got the better whiskers, the better beard? It may be Manfredo. We're going to find out.
Blood coming from the mouth of Edouard. He tried to play off that left hand, stood up to Manfredo. Now jigging underneath, backed up into that corner.
Manfredo trying to smother Edouard for defensive reasons and not working right now. Again, I think some of the gas depleted from the tank of Manfredo, and Edouard doing a good job of coming back this round.
Especially here in this final minute, actually taking steps forward, throwing punches. Digging underneath with a right hand. And a good left hand to the body from Manfredo on that belt line.
To me, when you have a guy laying in front of you, like Edouard is, good spot for the stronger guy, Manfredo, to go to that body. Really do damage downstairs.
Entertaining fifth round here in Key West. That was an interesting moment we just witnessed here in between rounds as Manfredo Jr. stood up and gave his dad a big kiss. He was pumped up to come out for this, the sixth round. Scored a knockdown in the fourth, had good action, and got to Edouard in the fifth after losing the first three rounds on your scorecard. Manfredo Sr. said, look for the touch and go. Explain that, Teddy.
Touch him with the jab, blind him a little with the jab, and let the right hand go. And what that can also mean is touch him downstairs, especially you have a guy who's been hurt. He's standing in front of you. Touch him downstairs with the jab, and then go upstairs with the right hand. Touch and go.
Now, it was a heck of a knockdown he scored in the fourth round. Unique circumstances as Edouard relaxed for a moment, took a slight step back, and a short right hand from Manfredo just leveled Daniel Edouard.
You're always looking to set a guy up. The touch and go also has the idea where, you know, you're touching him with a slow punch, an easy punch. You're making the guy feel comfortable. Then you go with a fast, hard punch. You set him up a little bit.
Let's look at the average power punch numbers comparative to the start for Manfredo compared to the last two rounds. You see landing 30 power punches per average per round over the last two rounds compared to that slower start he had.
I'm seeing Edouard plenty of heart, but still leaning a little with that jab. An opportunity for the right hand from Manfredo. Now, for the viewers out there that wonder, has Edouard been in this situation before? Yes. He's been on the floor before, and he's come off the floor to win.
He was involved in one of our best fights on Friday Night Fights over the last decade. That was a thriller where both men were staggered, had to get up and go on. He won that fight by TKO against Willie Gibbs. Now, here in 2011, a good action fight in week 2 of our Friday Night Fight season.
You know, I noticed Edouard, for defense, he's leaning a little bit. Laying right in front, leaning a little bit on Manfredo in spots, trying to get a little reprieve, a little rest, and that's dangerous. Again, I said it the last round. Great opportunity. If I'm in the corner of Manfredo, I'm saying, hey, go upstairs and then finish downstairs with something really hard and freeze Edouard with a good body shot. Also, Joe, I'm seeing an opportunity with Edouard standing in front from Manfredo when there's a little separation, jab to the body a little bit. Remember Tommy Hearns with Roberto Duran?
Oh, yeah.
Jab to the body and then snap it upstairs with a right hand. Catch him a dead blind punch.
Boy, and could he bring a right hand. Almost off balance that time, but able to get away from it.
Edouard is so game that it works against him sometimes when he knows he should box. And I don't know how much his legs are there to box right now after being dropped, but he knows he should box. He still goes with his heart. He fights you. Last week I was given some bad information, and still my responsibility because I should have been absolutely sure before I went on the air with that information. But Mickey Ward's mom has been very, very sick, and I reported that she had passed away, and thankfully, she is still alive and still very sick, and our prayers and our thoughts go out to her and to her family that she continues to recover.
All our best to the entire Ward family. Round number 7 here between Manfredo Jr. and Edouard. Actually saw Mickey out at the BCS national title game. He gave a pregame speech to the Oregon Ducks. That was the honor of head coach Chip Kelly flew him in for that. Good action here to open up this 7th round as Edouard trying to overcome that knockdown he suffered in round number 4. And then Manfredo got after him again in the 5th, and then a more competitive and balanced 6th round. It's been a good-looking main event.
It's been a good ride for us so far. We've been the passengers in a nice little ride here, and I think that any time you hear that it's real good action, that's bad news for Edouard, because that means he's staying and engaging too much, and the ride's going to get bumpy for Edouard. He cannot stand in front of Manfredo, and he's doing too much of that right now.
Boy, he's absorbing there against the ropes.
This is what I meant when I said before the fight started, Joe, that they're both the same age. Manfredo even has 14 more fights, but I just felt that there was more left in the body of Manfredo. He's a little fresher than Edouard, that Edouard's been impacted by the fights more.
Edouard's been dealing with that blood coming from his mouth since early on, and you talked about his conditioning before the fight. Now you add in the fact that he's probably swallowing some blood, and that can play a factor as we get to the later rounds.
Yeah, it can upset your stomach, cause a little nausea. And as we said, he came in heavy in this fight, Edouard. He had to lose weight. Who knows how much he had to lose to even get down to the weight that he weighed in yesterday. So physically, you'd have to think Manfredo has the edge. Heaviest weight for Edouard, as we said earlier, in over 7.5 years.
To the inside they go. Manfredo doing work to the body there. And Edouard trying to walk him back a bit.
I think that if Manfredo steps it up, you know, really pushes that pedal to the floor a little bit, it's going to be difficult for Edouard with all that heart to physically be able to survive.
2 right hands as well as a chopping left, and Edouard looks to tie up.
This is where Manfredo needs to use the legs. Not going forward, but step back a little bit. Don't get smothered.
In the Keys, one of the most unique settings you will ever see for Friday night fights. Outdoors, on the waterfront, and it's been a good card so far. 3 rounds to go here. A game Daniel Edouard, who seems to be tiring at the end of that 7th round, against Peter Manfredo Jr., star of the Contender Reality Series and a recent world title challenger. Manfredo scored a knockdown in round 4. Of course, we'll show you highlights of that a little later on, but you can always go to ESPN.com. As Teddy and I recap Friday night fights every week, and that stays up there on ESPN.com boxing page for the week. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard as it stands as we start this 8th round. You see the 10-8 4th round with the knockdown. 67-65 Manfredo, says Teddy. Edouard clearly came out stronger to open up this bout, but Manfredo has gained momentum.
Manfredo is just putting a little bit more hurt on Edouard than he's putting on Manfredo. His punches a little heavier, more damaging.
Good right hand there.
There's the right hand that I've been looking for all night long. And again, it's, you can see it. It's when Edouard jabs, he leaves himself vulnerable.
Went back with it. That time he backed it up with a left hook, trying to split the guard now.
Again, the right hand is there for Manfredo. And from Manfredo, I come back with the left hook underneath. A good body shot will really freeze and I think really deplete everything physically from the body of Edouard and make him really a sitting duck for other combinations from Manfredo.
Saturday, we've got college basketball on ESPN. Vanderbilt and Tennessee, both men and women, sandwiching 2 o'clock. Virginia against Duke. See how Duke bounces back after their upset loss to Florida State. Final minute here of this 8th round. Desperate times for Daniel Edouard. He said this fight is do or die for his career. course, Manfredo talked about some of the financial hardships he found himself in, looking to advance himself and cash in down the road.
A lot of blood. You touched on it earlier, Joe, and I would agree with you. A lot of blood coming out of that mouth to the point now of Edouard where he's swallowing quite a bit of blood.
Seen fighters tire from that. Manfredo coming on strong here. 2 rounds to go from Key West.
Looks to me like Edouard's about to jab. He leans in a little bit, never gets a chance to jab. He gets popped with the right hand from Manfredo.
Touched on that in the fight plan from Teddy and Saul. Round number 9 of our main event here. Teddy's scorecard, the 10-8 4th round with the knockdown, 77-74. The momentum has been with Manfredo since scoring that right hand knockdown. What a knockdown it was that Edouard survived. Between rounds, we heard Anthony Chill Wilson, the trainer Daniel Edouard, said you have to pick it up. Do not wait on Manfredo. Pick it up.
He probably feels like telling his trainer, talk to my legs. I'm trying my best.
Exactly.
I'm doing everything I can. My legs, they're just not listening right now. Maybe you know them better than I do. Maybe you could talk to them.
Easy to say it. Another thing to be the one that has to do it.
You could see Edouard right there, almost falling forward. I mean, he's almost in a dangerous position. I know I'm saying something that's fairly dramatic to say that in a fight where he's still standing in front, he's still dishing something out, but to me, he's in a position where he's very vulnerable to take some really damaging punch. He's falling forward every time you see Manfredo doesn't lay there to keep him up. He steps back, Manfredo. You can see Edouard doesn't control himself. He falls in, and he could fall right into some big shots.
The right hand uppercut on the inside from Edouard.
If Manfredo has enough left, I think he can really catch Edouard. Take a little step back, throw that uppercut, and you're gonna catch Edouard, as I said, really doing that. Just out of control of himself, leaning on you for balance.
Right, and go.
The only thing keeping Edouard hanging in there is, I think, a combination of Manfredo not taking that step back to create the room to catch the real big shot, and the heart, the great heart of Edouard. Big swelling over the right eye of Edouard.
It's become more noticeable here as this 9th round has gone on. Much more. Just really within the past minute, that swelling has gotten much worse.
I'm still worried about Edouard getting caught. Really a big damaging punch. Again, I'm seeing no legs there in Edouard. See, that's a corner recognizing what's in front of him. They just said he's gonna come. He's gonna fall in, he's gonna come forward, he's not gonna move to the side. Now you gotta be ready to receive him.
10th and final round. Could be the last in the career of Daniel Edouard. Could be the start of a new beginning.
I know it's only
Peter
one
Manfredo.
round left here, but Manfredo lets those hands go at the right time. He's still gonna score a knockout. And I know that's a tricky thing for me to say when the odds are against it. There's 2.5 minutes left, but I think the opportunity is still there. And I'm still concerned, just physically, the concern for the welfare of Edouard. All the heart in the world, take nothing away from him. But I just see a guy that his body is not there. His spirit is great.
Right hand just missed. And that right eye starting to close a bit. That swelling above the right eye of Edouard is significant.
You wonder why Edouard's not doing any chasing right now. Even though it's in his heart, his mind to do some chasing, he knows that he has stilts under him, not solid legs. He knows that. He can't navigate too well without losing his balance. Just watch him. Watch those legs of Edouard. Like sticks in the wind.
Hey, don't punch, don't punch.
Now tying up on the inside rather than working. Manfredo tried to get that left hook to the body.
If I'm Manfredo, I stick a jab downstairs and go upstairs with the right hand, as I said a few rounds ago.
Final 20 seconds. Edouard desperate at this point.
Manfredo knows he has the fight, so he's not pushing it, and Edouard just can't push it right now.
Incapable of it. See if he opens up here on the clap. Manfredo gonna work his way to a victory right to the final bell, and that's gotta feel good.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Mallory Square in the Conch Republic, Key West, Florida, after 10 rounds of boxing, we go to the scorecards. Judge Bill Ray scores about 97-92. Judges Michael Pernick and Rocky Young both scored about 98-91. For the winner by unanimous decision, Peter Manfredo Jr.